This may have been the most dangerous night of the Ukraine war so far. Not just because Russia launched hundreds of drones, not just because missiles slammed into Kyiv from multiple directions, but because, for the third known time ever, Russia reportedly fired its terrifying Oreshnik hypersonic missile, a weapon so fast, so destructive, and so difficult to stop that military analysts say it changes the entire equation of modern warfare. And tonight, the world is asking one question. Was this just another attack, or the beginning of a completely new phase of escalation? Welcome back to Cobalt. Imagine hearing air raid sirens at 3 a.m. Then your phone explodes with alerts. Then the sky flashes white. Then, before you even understand what's happening, a missile traveling at potentially Mach 10 is already above your city. No warning, no interception, no time. That is the nightmare Ukraine faced overnight as Russia unleashed one of the largest coordinated missile and drone attacks of the entire war. Ukrainian officials said the barrage included roughly 600 drones and 90 missiles, with Russia allegedly using the nuclear-capable Oreshnik system during the assault. And the implications go far beyond Kyiv, because this attack may have revealed something even more important. Modern air defense systems are struggling against the next generation of hypersonic weapons. According to Ukrainian officials, the attack began in waves. First came the drones, hundreds of them. Low-flying Shahed-style attack drones forcing Ukrainian air defenses to activate across multiple regions simultaneously. Then came cruise missiles, then ballistic missiles, and then, according to both Ukrainian and international reports, the Oreshnik hypersonic missile entered the battle. Explosions lit up Kyiv throughout the night. Apartment buildings burned, schools and infrastructure were damaged. Emergency crews raced through smoke-filled streets pulling civilians from collapsed structures. Ukraine says dozens were injured and multiple people were killed during the attack. But what terrified military observers most was not the drone swarm. It was the Oreshnik. Because unlike most missiles used in this war, Oreshnik represents the future. Most people had never heard of the Oreshnik missile before Russia revealed it in late 2024. Now it may be one of the most feared weapons on Earth. The missile is believed to be an intermediate-range ballistic missile capable of traveling at hypersonic speeds, reportedly above Mach 10. To understand how insane that is, a commercial airliner flies around 550 miles per hour. Mach 10 is over 7,000 miles per hour. At those speeds, interception becomes unbelievably difficult, and here's what makes it worse. Reports suggest Oreshnik may carry multiple independently targetable warheads, meaning one missile can split into several incoming threats during its final attack phase. That creates a nightmare scenario for air defenses, because instead of stopping one incoming object, you may suddenly be trying to stop 6, at hypersonic speed, at night, during a massive drone assault. Military analysts say this is exactly why Russia may be using these missiles now, not only to destroy targets, but to psychologically overwhelm Ukraine and the West. This wasn't a random strike. Timing matters. The attack happened as peace negotiations continued to stall, and after Russia accused Ukraine of attacks on Russian-controlled territory. Moscow claimed the strike targeted military infrastructure and command centers. Ukraine says civilian areas were hit across Kyiv and surrounding regions. But strategically, the message may have been directed somewhere else entirely. Washington, NATO, Europe. Because every time Russia uses Oreshnik, it sends a signal. We can penetrate advanced defenses. And that matters because modern NATO doctrine depends heavily on missile interception systems, Patriot batteries, Aegis systems, layered missile shields. But hypersonic weapons are specifically designed to challenge that entire model. Unlike traditional ballistic missiles, hypersonic systems can maneuver unpredictably while traveling at extreme speed. That reduces reaction time dramatically, sometimes to just seconds. This is where things get extremely serious. Ukraine has successfully intercepted many Russian missiles during the war, but officials admit ballistic and hypersonic threats remain much harder to defeat. And according to analysts, Oreshnik may currently sit in a category that Ukraine has very limited capability against. That raises terrifying questions for militaries worldwide. If this missile can consistently penetrate defenses, then what happens in a larger NATO conflict? What happens around Taiwan? What happens in the Pacific? What happens if multiple hypersonic systems launch simultaneously alongside drones, cyber attacks, and electronic warfare? This is why the Pentagon, China, Russia, and NATO allies are all racing to develop hypersonic tracking systems in space. Because traditional radar may not be enough anymore, the next missile war could be decided by satellites. And that's exactly why this matters to everyone watching Cobalt. The battlefield is moving upward, into orbit, into missile tracking constellations, into AI-guided targeting networks, into space warfare. There's another reason Russia may be using Oreshnik. Fear, not just physical destruction, psychological dominance. Experts previously suggested Russia used earlier Oreshnik launches as strategic intimidation aimed at both Ukraine and Western governments. And think about the optics. A missile nobody can clearly stop, traveling faster than sound, capable of carrying nuclear payloads, appearing during one of the largest air assaults of the war. That creates headlines instantly. It creates uncertainty instantly. And uncertainty is a weapon. Because if populations begin believing defenses cannot protect them, the psychological impact becomes massive. That may be part of the strategy. Tonight, military planners across the world are watching this attack frame by frame. Every radar signature, every interception attempt, every missile trajectory. Because hypersonic warfare is no longer theoretical. It's here. Russia is deploying it. China is heavily investing in it. The United States is racing to counter it. And the terrifying reality is this. Defensive technology may currently be lagging behind offensive technology. That has happened before in history. And when it does, wars become more dangerous, faster, less predictable. For years, many people viewed the Ukraine war as a regional conflict. But attacks like this prove something much bigger. Ukraine has become the testing ground for the weapons of the future. Drone swarms, electronic warfare, satellite targeting, AI-assisted battlefield systems, and now large-scale hypersonic missile operations. The lessons being learned tonight in Kyiv could shape military doctrine for decades, and every major power knows it. The fires in Kyiv will eventually burn out. Buildings will be rebuilt. Air defenses will reload. But the real shockwave from this attack may last far longer, because the world just witnessed another glimpse of what future warfare looks like. Faster, smarter, harder to stop, and increasingly connected to the battle for dominance in space. If you want to understand where warfare is heading next, subscribe to Cobalt, because the next war starts in space.